Well, salutations and greetings, and welcome to ScreenHour with me, Mikey Moose.
And with me, Kieran.
So this week we're gonna do as we've promised, finally, and one of the biggest TV shows there is at the moment is Lord of the Rings: The Rings of Power.
Well, you could argue House of Dragon's probably bigger at the moment. I feel like more people have watched that, actually.
Yeah, I just didn't want to watch them both at the same time.
No,
I know, they're very different. But
yeah,
I
they're
just
very
didn't want to watch
different.
them both at the same
got,
time.
a similar sort of theme, haven't they?
Similar genre,
Yeah.
In fantasy. But yeah, House of Dragons doing really good as well. I wish we probably will do an episode on that, maybe. I don't know. But I'll definitely chat about it at one point because I love Game of Thrones, and hopefully it's as good as the first couple seasons of Game of Thrones. But not to go off the beaten track already. We're in the first minute of the show. But yeah, we're going to do Lord of the Rings: Rings of Power. As usual, we're going to do a quick overview of the synopsis, well, the premise of the show, but there's spoilers cued in the title. And then we're going to have a deep dive into the spoilers. And we're going to do things we liked, things we don't like, and then just speculation of the future series, I reckon.
Yeah.
And then delve into the plot and the twists and the turns we did see coming or didn't see coming. I don't know. Because me and Kieran haven't, we've only spoke about it a little bit in typical fashion. We typically like to save our discussions and stuff until we actually record on it.
Yeah, so not to taint what our views are, so we can discuss it here, rather than we discuss it outside of the podcast, and then we've already changed our minds about something, and then we don't mention it here.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, right off the bat, would you recommend it?
I really liked it as a whole. Probably my main thing I liked about it, and this sounds like really fanboy and really basic.
Yeah,
is just the production quality.
I completely agree. I really like the set designs.
I like the set designs. I like how everything, when it's meant to look beautiful, looked beautiful.
Yeah.
I liked how if it looks grim, it looked grim, and it looked scary and weird and messed up.
Yeah, the first time they travel into Numenor on the boats, and you get the drone shots and everything of the Isles of Numenor, you can the grand scale of the city and all that. It looked incredible. Granted, most of that was CGI, but then when they zoom back down into the port, and they're taking the rowboats from the big ship to port, basically, that that's an actual set. You can tell that that's not CG. You can there'll be CGI to enhance things, but you can tell they're really there and rowing that boat.
They really put the effort in.
Yeah, I know it's just those added bits for me that just make it so good.
So, as you said, a brief synopsis in general is it's set definitely before the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and it's set again before the Hobbit. It's set in the Second Age in the
I think it's 1,000 years before Frodo.
Yeah, it's a foul. Yeah, exactly.
I could be wrong, but it's thereabouts.
I remember hearing that in itself, to the point where this is very mild spoilers in the first 20 minutes of the episode. The first episode is hobbits aren't even a thing. Hobbits aren't a race of people. The closest thing to hobbits, and we follow a tribe of half-foots who are smaller than the hobbits, and they're you're led to presume the ancestors or the prototype hobbits, if you will.
Yeah.
So they're the first hobbits, and then you've obviously, as you clue with the guess with the colon, it's about how slowly, and we get there in the spoilers, but how the Rings of Power are made.
Yeah. And how Sauron returns.
Yeah, how Sauron comes about or returns. What kingdoms get involved, or what races. It's not, don't get me wrong, it's not a political thriller by no means, but a lot of it is.
There's a bit of satire for today, isn't there? Like in the real world for us.
I feel like there is, but what I was going to say is like there's a lot of dealings with different races and different cultures and kingdoms for deals are met or people are persuaded to do different stuff
Yeah.
on the rallying behind or not choosing not to rally behind.
Hmm. Do they save their own people or do they help the other race? You know.
Yeah, exactly. The main, if you will, character as we've mentioned, and it's set like 1,000 years before. The only character who like is really reappearing in it is Gladriel and Elrond, who, as you know, like
Well,
who like
the names we know are Galadriel, Elrond. We have heard of Durin during the Hobbit trilogy. And then you've got Celebrimbor.
yeah, Celebrimbor as well. Well remembered.
You know, those are the names you really know. Everyone else, they're kind of names you're learning as the show goes on.
Exactly. But I'm like literally, I wouldn't even say I'm like a casual Tolkien fan, sorry, because I haven't watched I haven't read any of the books. I'll be honest. I love the Lord of the Rings films. I watched The Hobbit because I felt obliged to. I was like, I'll probably love this because I loved Lord of the Rings, and I don't know. I watched it, but I expected more. I don't know of The Hobbit, and I haven't watched the other two Hobbits. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I've watched them all. I enjoyed the Hobbits for what they were. They just weren't as good as Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
You know, the Fellowship, Two Towers, and Return of the King. Like they were, you know, peak cinema. You know, of their time as well. And even watching them today, you can understand the brilliance of them.
oh yeah, they definitely hold up. Like it's not like it's not shoddy at all or whatever. But law wise, apparently, like the general consensus is like, oh, it's done some mad things with the law or whatever. But and it's rushed certain plot points or certain characters shouldn't be there or whatever.
Yeah, they've taken some creative liberties, haven't they?
Yeah, apparently so. But if you ask me, I think one of the show's strengths is, and this is probably because each episode's quite chunky as well. To be fair,
Yeah, it's about 70 minutes an episode, isn't it?
yeah, it's about 70 minutes an episode, but he really doesn't rush stuff, which is both like to a degree, and I'll get to this in spoilers, but like to a degree is like one of my criticisms, but also it's like for such a big world it's building,
Yeah.
it's not confusing or convoluted at any point. Like,
Well, I said to you, like, first time I watched it, I felt like they rushed a bit too soon to explain too much in the first 3 episodes, that we got introduced to too many characters too quickly. So it was a little bit, when I first started watching it, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it, but I was like, I feel like they're trying to show me too much too soon rather than letting things play out and build things methodically. But after those sort of first 3 episodes, where you then meet all of sort of the main characters you're going to be with for the rest of the series, it really sort of set its own tone and pacing from that point onwards.
yeah, I disagree in the sense that like the first, but I also think, to be fair, I presume you watched it week by week.
No.
Oh, you didn't. I watched them like I watched like 3 or 4 episodes in one weekend, and then I watched the last two this weekend.
I watched 4 episodes within 2 days, and then I watched them week by week.
Ah, is it? See, I was going to say I found it like really easy to digest as like just watching like as if I was watching, one of the Lord of the Rings films because I watched them so bulkily.
Yeah, because as we said, they're 70 minutes, so they're basically a film in themselves, each episode.
Yeah. But what it does, like a lot of, epic dramas or even fantasy shows nowadays, it's not just following one protagonist. If you had to identify a main character in it, at a push, it's Gladriel, yeah. and especially the first episode or two, it does mainly follow Galadriel.
Yeah,
But as the show goes on, it does become more of an like. I don't want to say ensemble,
yeah,
but like because that will like hint towards like there's loads of people, but there is branching different storylines,
yeah.
and then
I mean, you've got the Harfoots, you've got Gladriel, you've got Elrond and Dorin, and then you've got the captain of the ship, but he's kind of with Gladriel, but also, you know, he's not. And then you've also got Halbrand that's also with Gladriel. So they're interwoven. The only ones that don't interweave with anyone are the Harfoots and everyone else.
yeah, and then you've got like towards like the halfway through the series. I think his name's Aura or like, and then the Southlanders.
Yeah, Halbrand.
Well, not so much Halbrand, but like the elf and his missus.
Oh yeah, what?
And his partner.
Elf and his missus.
Yeah, the Aura and the ones who are in the tower, and then they come out of the tower.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Yeah,
because he's one of my favorite characters. To be fair.
Yeah, I can't remember his character's name. Yeah, he gets spoilers. He gets kidnapped by the orcs. Him.
Yeah, to be fair, second episode, but yeah. Spoiler. But no, they all
actually that bit where he does where at the end of the episode, I think it's end of episode 2 when he gets taken. Right, the art design there, like the cinematography and the composition have like the hands come behind him and pull him away.
It's cool, isn't it? I really like that.
Sick. To be honest, the one thing I will say about The Lord of the Rings is you've watched, if you're going to watch this show, you've most likely watched the Lord of the Rings films by Peter Jackson, right? You've most probably also watched The Hobbit, right? The Lord of the Rings show has the exact same tone and feel. Watching it was giving me everything I expected I was going to get. Did you feel the same?
I do agree a lot, and it just felt, despite characters not feeling one note, or every character feel like it was developed and stuff like that, but it felt like a very old school fantasy type of thing, which I liked, and like as you say, it was very Peter Jackson-esque, and like the older Lord of the Rings films.
The music felt similar as well, because Howard Shore helped compose the theme, and then is it Bear McCreary?
Bear McCreary,
yeah. He does basically the tone for the whole film, the score for the not the whole film, the whole series. But he really picks the right tone, right, which perfectly blends with Howard Shore's original masterpieces, and the show. You got that same sort of feel in the sound.
Yeah, I think Bear McCreary absolutely smashes it like he does, but he loads of stuff nowadays. Like,
yeah, he's really popular. It's him and Lorne Balfe seem to be really popular at the moment.
Yeah,
Lorne Balfe does the Mission Impossibles, and he did
Ludwig String, who does
Ludwig Göransson.
That's it. He does like The Mandalorian and loads of good stuff at the moment as well.
Yeah, because originally it was. I mean, I don't hear of him much anymore. Is Ramin Djawadi,
who done Game of Thrones?
Yeah, so he did quite a lot in sort of the 2010s, and then obviously you got Hans Zimmer, but Hans Zimmer doesn't. He tends to put his name to a lot of TV show stuff, but mostly the themes, the main theme.
But it feels, I don't know, it feels familiar, but in a really good way. This atmosphere of the show.
Yeah,
and that's like, that's what you want at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's just I can't emphasize enough of how much it gave me exactly what I wanted it to give me while watching it. Like I wanted to watch, a new story in the Lord of the Rings universe, but I wanted it to feel like I was still watching something that was created by Peter Jackson when he created Lord of the Rings. The exact same art style and sort of pacing and the writing and the music and everything. It just watching the show just gave me the exact same feels as I had when I watched those films as a kid.
Yeah, exactly. And it's such a big positive. It really is. And that's what I recommend it for. If it was me, I'd recommend watching them in bulk like we did. But like that's quite that's quite not an extravagant way. I don't know. That's quite a luxurious way to watch them if you've got that much time. Don't get me wrong. It's pretty cool. But
just so you can sort of keep on top of the topics and remember what happens each episode, because a lot happens. Is that what you mean?
Not so much that. I just think like they're really good just to settle into because like it feels like you're watching a film because of the production design and things like that. Like I was talking to a friend about it and I made a big finger that I wanted to watch it when I wasn't going to get disturbed or whatever. So I'd watch it late evenings. And I'd watch it when like, don't get me wrong, it's coming into winter now, but like silly stuff like, now I've got curtains, like, I'm not poor, like, but like, I could watch the TV and it was pitch black at night or whatever.
Yeah, you don't want like the sun bouncing off the TV,
like and stuff like that. Like, so that was what I would say.
And if you remember, actually, do you remember I sent you that Insta post, and it says it's Lord of the Rings. Each episode costs, is it 54 million to make each episode?
I don't think it can't be 54 million.
I'd say that is extravagant because I think the next one down was it Mandalorian was the next one down, and it was like 18 mil or something, and that was in second place.
It's that's unbelievable, but you can see it. Like it doesn't matter whether it's costume and prosthetics or whether it's the action or whether it's just the general set design on the effects. They have absolutely smashed it.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah.
The only thing I would say is like, and to be fair, you probably won't listen to this episode if you're not into Lord of the Rings at all. Is I tried to get like my partner to watch it, and she'd be like, "Oh, I'll watch it" or whatever. But she was like, "It's too fantastical for me," and that's what it is. Like, I've got friends who be like, "Nah, not into Lord of the Rings." I think, as we've discussed, if you're into Lord of the Rings and you're into the films, it is. I feel like it's great and it's what you're going to be into. But if you're not into Lord of the Rings, it's not going to turn you around, I don't think.
No, but the thing is, like we said at the beginning of this episode, it has the very sort of similar themes to Game of Thrones, and a lot of people love Game of Thrones.
I don't agree with that at all, because despite me saying at the start they're like similar genres, similar fantasy things.
Yeah.
But it's Game of Thrones is too realistic. I know there's dragons in it at the end of the day, Targaryens or whatever, and whatever. But people's attitudes and people's deceitfulness and people's like how they're a lot more grey area. There's not a lot of, like I said, it's quite hard to describe the Lord of the Rings, like the Tolkien universe, because people aren't stupid or then they're written well and like them they're like fleshed out characters, but they're a lot more black and white in the Tolkien universe.
Yeah, I will agree with you there. Yeah.
Where in Game of Thrones, like people have like more realistic character arcs, or people are more noble, and then they turn to be a dickhead, and there's like, and also like I think this is the main one. Like is you're never going to see rape in a Tolkien thing, are you? And where like so you like on I love Game of Thrones.
It would probably be mentioned, but we won't see anything. Yeah.
But yeah, you'd never see or never allude to that, like where Game of Thrones, like to its detriment sometimes, is too violent, especially with matters like that. But
yeah,
I know what you mean, and I find it very interesting that a lot of the people who do like Game of Thrones and the fantasy genre were the same audience who like Lord of the Rings. I know Amazon are big, and so are HBO, but they had all year to like have released them, and why did they choose like the same month and a half, 2 months?
I mean, typically this is the best time to release stuff because it's late at night, so everyone's in watching TV. So that's really why everything's released now, sort of time. But they were released quite close to one another.
Yeah, you could have, if it was me, like Game of Thrones could have kept the August time. Lord of the Rings, like, because if I remember correctly, all Lord of the Rings, like Hobbits and Lord of the Rings films, were released Christmas time. So if I was them, I would have released them in like Halloween time. Could have released it like last week, and it could have went for 8 weeks leading up to Christmas. But I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a big cast of characters in it. There's branching storylines, which we said do join with, like most of them, as Kieran said, apart from the Harfoots, do interact with each other. And that's like, what I'll say about that is you'll at least have a favourite. You'll at least have a couple of favourite characters.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say Doran and Elrond's partnership, like friendship, that's something that could get its spin-off show of like their early
I definitely
years.
agree there. I think like Prince Durin is like really likable. But now we like, you know, go into like low-key spoilers now then.
Yeah, we'll go into the spoilers because there's a lot to talk about that you can't talk about without spoiling.
Suppose that's how, like, before we go into full-on spoilers, suppose let's say who our like favourite characters are.
Well, so I mentioned a couple of times before that my favourite was the captain. I can never remember his name. It's like Ellen Rand or Ellen.
Means friends of the elves. Means friend of the elves.
Yeah, he's my favourite character because he gives me the sort of Boromir vibe, right? And you know who doesn't love Sean Bean? And yeah, he's just what?
The orcs. You said who doesn't love Sean Bean, and I said the orcs.
With the orcs. But yeah, but no, I really enjoyed his character and the bit where we're not in spoilers yet, but later on when something happens to him and his family, and he basically says, he's like, where is he? You know, like that emotional moment then when they're like in the field of burnt forest after the volcanic eruption sort of thing. And then he's like, where is he? Like that bit of acting then I thought was like, oh shit, I felt that. But no, he's my favourite, but Doran would be a close second.
I actually think my favourite, I didn't think this, my favourite's Halbrand.
Well, yeah, I don't disagree. He's good. He's a good character.
And then my second favourite, or like joint favourite, is Nori.
Nori, interesting.
I really like Nori. I think the Harfoots, and I also, I think which is like not like, which is just a general opinion, is similar to Game of Thrones. It's not me saying it's not like Game of Thrones, but like it's good to see like a really big show, like one of the world's biggest shows at the moment, be full with a British cast.
Oh yeah, without doubt, I'm very much enjoying that.
And not just a British cast. And I say this knowing that Tolkien's a Brummie. There isn't any Brummie accents, but I don't know where they would go in the Middle Earth. To be fair, they could go in the middle. Well, they could go anywhere because Middle Earth.
I mean, one of my favourite things was seeing Lenny Henry.
Well, that's what I was going to say. There isn't technically a Brummie accent, but his Dudley accent comes into it by accident, I presume, every now and again. But that's what I mean. I was going to say, like, I really like the Harfoots, and I like their vibe. I say I like their vibe. I'll get into spoilers in a bit. Like, I don't know. It alludes to, like, they are rather.
We're going to go into spoilers because we're skipping over too much here.
Right, full on spoilers for, like, everything now.
You're about to find out who Sauron is, so if you don't want to know, don't listen.
But we like the show. We recommend it. If you're into Lord of the Rings, you'd like it.
Yeah, it's just you'll enjoy it. It's just a great experience. You know, it's not just entertaining. It's a great experience.
It's a good viewing experience. The reason I find a bit weird about the Harfoots is they come across very wholesome and they're quite lovely and they look after, again, this is spoilers, but we've got that's got to be fucking Gandalf, like, innit? Do you know what I mean?
That's my thinking. I have no idea.
Everybody says it's Gandalf. I've been watching breakdown videos on it or whatever. But it's also like just silly stuff where he says, "Oh, if in doubt, follow your nose." He's a sound wizard. He's wearing grey.
Yeah.
He has a relationship with technically hobbits.
Yeah.
But not hobbits.
But there is also, in the books, there is a wizard of the woods, so it could be him.
Yeah, he's Radagast the Brown, isn't he?
Honestly, I don't know.
That's Radagast the Brown from The Hobbit, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's him or not. I don't know if it's a different wizard because there's like 5 wizards I think in existence in Tolkien's thing, but I don't know which one he is because it makes sense for him to be Gandalf, but I don't know. It's a tough one to call. But what I will say about his character is I wasn't really sold on his character until the final episode, because the final episode when he starts to talk a lot more, I was like, holy shit! You just went from my least favorite character to one of my favorite characters in like an episode.
I do agree because there's only so much you can do if a character can't speak like. And
Yeah.
if he's meant to be such a mystery box character, and that's one of the reasons I like Nori's character is because she's so hopeful, but like she's a bit badass in her own way as well. Because it's very the atmosphere and the culture in the Half-Foots is you don't stray from the path. You've got to be a good little Half-Foot. At the end of the day, you're 2 foot tall. You're probably going to watch all the perils, as they say.
Yeah.
And like for her to go against the grain is a lot of like metaphorical balls per se. And I really respect that in the character. She's quite cute. She's good vibes, like. So I like that.
And I'd say she is a good character, and like I'm interested to see where her journey goes with AKA Gandalf.
The thing I would say about the Half-Foots, but despite them having like come across quite wholesome, I'm pretty sure it alludes to, well, they kind of do it anyway. If you can't keep up, we just fuck you off. If you can't keep up in the convoy, we don't care.
Yeah, but
it's like the bloke's got a broken foot, and he's like, yeah, whatever. And then do you know Nori's friend, Poppy?
Yeah.
Like, it's alluded to that her parents died because they just left her behind, and you're like, that's a bit mean.
Yeah, take fucking slash, not my child.
Yeah. So like Poppy got saved or whatever, but I don't know how.
Yeah.
So I find that a bit gnarly.
Well, I'd say, but it's a cultural thing, isn't it? There's some things that happen in different cultures to us. I mean, talk about like is it the Muslims where they can marry like, I don't know, like 20 different women? In our culture that is just crazy. We don't understand how that works. I mean, the guy must be knackered.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't know about that. So we keep. I don't know how factual correct we are with that, but I know exactly what you mean. But
yeah, but it's different cultures. Things happen.
Different cultures, have different rules or whatever. So you got to respect that. But yeah, I found that a bit mad. How they seem quite contradictory because they seem very lovely, but they also don't really care.
No.
The other one will address the Lord of the Rings elephant in the room. And I saw the spoiler for this because I got quite into it. I quite enjoyed it.
Yeah, you told me. You
messaged me. YouTube,
I don't need to watch it anymore because I just found out.
No, I never. I said like no. I always wanted to watch it, but
yeah, well, you said it in a jokey way, didn't you?
Yeah, I just. So I found it on YouTube screenshot, and it was like all the hints that Halbrand is Sauron. I was like, fuck's sake! I was like, now I know. And I've been watching like breakdown videos of each episode, but like that hadn't gave me like spoilers. It's just talking about it or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like, that's pretty cool. Then when it finds out that, and I spoke to you about it, and I think I spoke to my other friend about it as well. Is that the point is? It does give hints to it, so it doesn't come out of nowhere like a Randy Orton.
Yeah.
But I still like think Halbrand's sound.
That's the thing. I really like Halbrand. And as you say, when you find out he is Sauron, right, you're kind of like, huh? But then when you really think about it, all of the things like, as you say, the breakdown videos and stuff, where it says all the signs that point to him actually being Sauron, you're like, holy shit, they were all there. Like, they were so obvious in my face that he was Sauron. He was basically saying, don't trust me, He's
having a conversation with Galadriel when he's in Numenor, and he's like, leave me here, I want to be happy here, I don't want to be bring the past back. Yeah. And he says, I've done some real bad stuff. I go, oh, that's interesting. That's pretty messed up. Like, no one in the Lord of the Rings, universe really turns around and says, I've done some really bad stuff. If they've done some really bad stuff, they've probably done some really, really bad stuff. Yeah. So that's interesting. And the other one, which it's not my best scenes, but that's probably because I like action is what I like, good storytelling, is the bit where he has a fight in Numenor. He gets jumped by those
against the blacksmiths.
Against the blacksmiths.
Yeah.
is, and this is like a backhanded compliment towards the show, is that it does not feel like it's from Lord of the Rings. It feels like it's from a mixed martial arts TV show. It feels like it's from like Banshee, or it feels like it's from Peaky Blinders. It feels like a modern like show. It doesn't feel like a fantasy show, because the fight moves he's doing is to like, and this is to Sauron's credit, he's not doing flashy sword moves or like, you know, trying to take someone's arm off with a sword or whatever. It's a brawl, but he's going in for the kill. There's a bit in it where he's just punching somebody's Adam's apple repeatedly.
Yeah, and then he slams that guy's arm on the brickwork and then snaps it.
Yeah, and he's like dismantling people. He's like almost off, like it's like early season Oliver Queen in Arrow, where he's just snapping people's limbs.
I did it because I love it.
Oh, yeah, I did it because I love it. Like, that's what I mean. He gets, so I really enjoy it. Like, and it sounds quite bad, like quite sick, I suppose, but I really enjoyed that because it showed you like something is a bit fishy about the bloke.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just 1-2 punching these guys; he's dismantling them.
Well, that was like the first instance where you're like, there's more to this guy than meets the eye. Because like he literally like, oh come on fellas, you know, I'll give you your pin back, and they're like, no, and then they go to, he pushes him or something, and he just absolutely fucks them all over, and one guy runs off and gets the guards, and you're like, huh, there's something we don't know here. But you so easily forget as well, because so much happens that you forget. Because there's no other instance where he becomes that badass again.
Exactly. Even when, or like another memorable moment I like, and also another thing we should have said in general overview really is, and I think we say this a lot because we're quite positive, I like to think, but is nobody's acting's shoddy, like, or crap or whatever. I think all the acting is absolutely great, but especially like I think it's Charlie Vickers is the guy who plays Halbrand, and I think his name's Morad. She's like a Welsh actor who plays Gladriel. Their chemistry, especially after the battle of, you know, we can talk about it in spoilers, just before Mount Doom erupts, and it becomes Mordor. When they're sitting on that tree stump, that log, and they're talking about like how good it was to fight by each other's side.
Yes, yeah.
And their chemistry is like really good.
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed their chemistry as well. Yeah, I mean, Gladriel, we haven't mentioned her really. I was struggled with Gladriel to begin with because I felt she was just like, as you say, a Mary Sue. She just seemed like she could do anything and there was no way to bring her down. But she's very, I wouldn't say she's naive, but she has naivety in her. You know, there's not a, she has strength in her abilities, but not strength in her mind.
She's very headstrong to her detriment.
But yeah,
I feel like her story arc's great, and you can see why, like we've discussed, how you get tricked by Halbrand, because she's so focused on her goal, which is, you know, kill Morgoth, kill all like any presence of evil, so therefore kill Sauron, kill every orc you see. But because of that such a goal which is like knitted into her, I think what should have been a thing then is more like maybe the first episode, or at least the first half hour, should have been about her relationship with her brother.
Yeah, we should have probably had a bit more of that. So yeah, because that bit of the whole, you know,
the boat. It's literally the boat.
Too much time in the light, you'll never, or something to do with the darkness. You sometimes have to step into the darkness to live in the light, or something, isn't it?
Yeah, is that right?
Yeah, so probably we needed a bit more there just to sort of flesh that out a bit. But again, I don't think it was overall necessary, because we'd still got a bit with her brother in the final episode when she's, you know, sort of trapped in her own mind and being tricked by Sauron or Halbrand. She meets her brother then, but it's not really her brother. It's like Halbrand as her brother.
Halbrand going a bit mental in it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know, using mind fuckery on him.
Yeah.
The chap who plays Elrond is great. And as I said, like every character's like absolutely, every actor absolutely smashes it.
Because people, again, I don't know what it is with people, but You were talking when we're talking about was it? It's not the Mandalorian, no. It was Kenobi, where people were kicking off about. Was it Reva and kicking off because she was black, right? People were kicking off about Doreen's wife because she was black, and that elf because they were black before the show even began, right?
Which is stupid, really, because they're the only, like, to my knowledge. Well, you've got the Queen Regent,
Yeah.
but they're the only like mixed race characters and a few of the Numenorians. But like, get a grip, innit?
Yeah, exactly. They absolutely smash it. Like she, especially, is probably one of the most memorable characters.
What, Lisa?
I can't remember her name, but Doreen's wife.
Doreen's wife's great. Doreen's wife is like the way she's established, and like this is done really well. She simultaneously is a good wife, but also a badass woman in her own right.
Yeah, I think it's scary as well how good she looks as a hobbit with the prosthetics of the nose and then the facial hair. Like it just looks weird. You know what I mean? With the hobbit, not the hobbits, the dwarves. You're looking at them and you're literally like, I can't see the prosthetics. You just look like you're meant to look like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they look great. Like,
Yeah.
especially that look, Durin's dad looks great. I tell you, he was like really good, and this is more so to do with the other thing I've seen him in. The chap who plays Elrond is in like a really creepy Netflix thriller thing called Behind Her Eyes, and he plays like a psychopath in that. Like, and yeah, we couldn't be more far apart. Like in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like he comes out. You know, he's like quite a noble elf, isn't he? Yeah, just like
it's
some tricky, like you know, he's fucking Elrond. Like you couldn't get more noble than him. But as you say, I think you know a lot of TV shows and like storytelling, it really hinges on people's characters' relationships, and there's a lot of good ones. And like also, like, whether it'll be Nisa and Prince Durin, whether it'll be Prince Durin and Elrond, whether it'll be Halbrand and Galadriel, whether it'll be like the elf. I really like the mixed race elf chap. He's great. And I
can't remember his character's name.
Or it could be his A, I think. Something beginning with A. But he's great, and his kid. Well, it's not his kid, but like the.
Well, yeah, I think it is because do you ever see the kid's ears?
And he has a bowl cut, and you can't see his ears because the chances are he's an elf.
I reckon he's gotta be his kid because they never show us his ears.
Never shows his ears, but part of me thinks like it'd be good just if it wasn't his kid. But like they're still at the end of season 1, they still haven't showed you his ears. Put it that way.
No, yeah,
he's great. The Numenorian angle is good. The Numenorians. I was looking into it, and apparently in the lore, and this is like why they're not in the Lord of the Rings films, is because. Do you know when the Queen Regent has that dream and she sees the tidal waves lashing in army?
Yeah.
Yeah, that basically happens.
Yeah. Which is kind of cool if you think about it. It's like, when is this going to come into fruition? When are we going to witness this?
Which is bad, really, because I'd be tamping if I worship the sea and the sea just stabbed me in the back, you know?
Yeah, it is. We do as the sea guides. It's like Rick and Morty. I follow the crystal. I do as the crystal guides.
Yeah.
I follow the sea.
The sea always right. We love the sea, blah, blah. And then fucking, you know, they get blammoed by the sea eventually. But the Numenorians basically become the Gondorians, don't they?
Yeah.
That's how it follows on. One of the show's big positives, like we said, is and it's like little bit of a bad thing, but I can see why they're doing it. Is purely that it has a lot of callbacks, and like it's also cool to see. So that episode with all the action in, where Mordor becomes Mordor, is great. Yeah. And then it's like the Mithril, the mines of Mithril, and whatever. But it is quite slow, in the sense that it does take an entire season for them to build 3 rings.
Yeah. I actually quite like how they go about creating the rings, because they want to create something, sort of create a power, but they don't know how to do it. And then Halbrand comes in with his tricksy, with his, with all his tricks and whatever, and basically says, "Why don't you combine it with something?"
It's this Celebrimbor's workshop. Celebrimbor's so cool. The Celebrimbor is like, I'm so flattered. Oh,
Yeah.
maybe I will talk to this low guy. And he's like, you've got ideas. Oh, these are quite useful.
Yeah, it's like, why don't you mix alloys and turn them into rings? And I knowing what happens with the rings, because they've created these 3 rings, but these 3 rings are, secret rings. They're not the main rings of power that are given to the elves and the men and the dwarves or whatever. And then obviously Sauron makes his other ring on his own, and so these are the first initial 3 rings that they've created. I like that all the rings look completely different as well.
Yeah, I quite like that.
Yeah, no, they're not just the generic, what do you call them? They're like just like a gold band, aren't they? Like your proper wedding ring look.
Yeah, just you
But
got.
basically, it doesn't look like Frodo's ring.
Yeah, exactly.
They look more like engagement rings.
Yeah, they look quite. I don't know. There's a lot of detail in him to look quite fantastical, but also not like you wouldn't be like if you brought in somebody as an engagement ring, you'd be like, oh, sick.
Yeah,
They look lush.
amazing.
Oh, fucking great.
And also Celebrimbor, right? The guy that plays Celebrimbor, I'm like, I know your face. Who the fuck are you? Right? So he was in The Crown on Netflix. He plays one of the aides to Queen Elizabeth and George V. I think it is the 5th or the 6th. I can't remember now. But he plays one of the aides. But he's also in the Batman Begins. Right? So he's a member of the Wayne board, and he's the guy that basically says, "We've lost a microwave emitter to Mr. Earl."
Really?
Yeah, like he looks very different because he's got like these oval glasses on, right? And obviously that's what 20, almost 20 years old now. So he looks completely different. Like you
It's
can
the
tell it's
hair of
him, but it's like,
Celebrimbor as well.
huh?
It's the hair of Celebrimbor as well, with the whole like
Yeah,
fringy hair.
yeah, and I was watching it going, I know you, and I figured it out. I was like, see, he's from the Batman Begins, all the odds, But no, I really liked Celebrimbor's character as well, and like Celebrimbor is a big deal. At the end of the day, he creates the rings of power. So
It's called Lord of the Rings, and he makes them rings. Like, so
yeah, and plus he's in the games, the Shadow of War and Shadow of Mordor.
yeah, it's a totally different. Apparently, like it's not canon. Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War, but
No,
because to be fair, because Celebrimbor is like a totally different guy in those. He's an album badass. Like he's a warrior who just happens to make the rings in like
yeah, in the game.
the games. The games are great, by the way. Like
Yeah.
I literally played Shadow of Mordor a couple of weeks ago, last week because I was watching Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, because you're on the Lord of the Rings hype, yeah.
Yeah, but
So I'm interested to see what they do with Celebrimbor's character in the next season, to sort of see where it goes. Like, what are your like thoughts on like where the show can go for next season?
I was talking to a bloke at work about it. He says apparently like something to do with rights issues is that he can't. I was going to say maybe it'll lead straight into the Hobbit, like pretty much, or something like that. But apparently it's something to do with rights. They can only do the Second Age or something like that.
Yeah.
But I feel like it'll end with Sauron.
I don't mean
Right.
end. I just mean, what do you think will happen next season? Not where do you think the show's going to end? Because I think they've got 5 seasons. I think
they've got 5 seasons, but I feel like they'll just create more rings for each season.
Yeah, and slowly show the corruption or something.
So you got to make the ones for the dwarves and ones for the humans, haven't you?
Yeah, and the elves. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it'll progress the Harfoots, so they become hobbits. I think it will show. Like, I think again, like it will just what's been good and like bad about it. But I feel like they've made this knowing that they've got another 4 seasons in their back pocket.
Yeah. I reckon maybe next season is a possibility that if this wizard is Gandalf, I mean, it doesn't have to be Gandalf, but because it's a wizard and he's on the road with Nori, there's a good chance we could see an Ent.
I think there's a good chance we're seeing Ents, but I feel like you'll have to forgive me because they're very similar names. Yeah, the evil wizard who Christopher Lee's plays. It's not Sauron, is it?
Saruman. No.
Saruman. Yeah, that's
It's
it. No.
Saruman, isn't it?
Yeah, Saruman.
Saruman.
I feel like you'll see him next season.
I think that's a possibility, yeah.
I think I'm 90% sure that's Gandalf, the stranger's Gandalf, and then you see Sauron, and then I think because they're so, they're so young at the moment in the show. Like we said, the show's set 1,000 years before Lord of the Rings. I think it might show their friendship, how they became friends.
Yeah, because he doesn't get corrupted really until the Two Towers, does he?
Exactly. So I feel like that'll be something good for them to explore.
Mm.
You might even whether they get him into it, I don't know. It's really showed how the elves live forever. Might even get Legolas in it.
Yeah, that's true. You could get a young Legolas.
Could get and even
Yeah.
because Galadriel's in it, and then they're and so's Elrond.
Yeah. Actually, one thing I've got about Galadriel is Galadriel's meant to be a young Galadriel, right? But the actress that plays her is like 31, right? And Kate Blanchett most likely was 31 when she originally.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So it's like, oh, and the thing is, she does not look 31. The Meriad, I think her name is.
Yeah.
The actress that plays Galadriel, it's like she not look 31. Like how is she older than us? Like it's like, I mean, this is completely off topic here, but we didn't realize until so last episode we did the Woman King, right? And the girl that plays Nauri, right? She's like 34 or something. She might actually be 31. Can you remember how old she was? Was she 31, 32?
Yeah, she was like 32 or something, and she looks even
she looks 12 or 14.
In the film, they make a remark that she's 12. She looks 12 when her character's meant to be 19.
Yeah, it's like it blew my mind.
I feel like they'll be making that's another thing we'll end up seeing in season 2. In season 2, I feel like we'll see the fall of the Númenórean, and then it'll be at the end of season 5, you'll at least see Gondor become a thing.
Yeah, like the construction of Minas Tirith or something.
Exactly. You'll at least see that, I think.
Yeah.
You see more. You see the Eye of Sauron become Sauron. If you catch my drift, as silly as that sounds, and that's probably like season 4 or something.
Yeah, quite late. What I think would be quite cool is if it ends when we think the ring has been destroyed. So when Elrond's shouting to Isildur, like, cast it into the fire, destroy it. And he turns around and goes, no. That would be a great place to end the season.
It would, though, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
The one, little niggly thing, I'd say, and it is, I don't know, I just wanted more action.
Yeah. But I do feel that we could get this as it goes on, because obviously there's going to be more wars and fights. Because mostly Númenóreans have been in Númenor, and they've only travelled over for that one particular fight in that village. Alright.
All the fights happen in one episode, if I remember correctly, innit, with the Númenóreans.
Yeah.
And the Southlanders. So it starts with the badass elf baiting them into the tower, doesn't it? The orcs into the tower. Then they go back to the village. They have a really good battle there. And then the Númenóreans come at the end, save them, and then it's Mount Doom, is it?
Yeah, pretty much with Adar.
With Adar. Adar will get... I think Halbrand will kill Adar in season 2. Or, sorry, Sauron will kill Adar in season 2.
Yeah, Adar might go into hiding, and he might become someone else.
Yeah.
Because we know him as Adar, but he might change his name to something else that, is like, oh, wait, that's that guy that,
Something I wish they did, because I really liked his character, was I would have liked to seen Halbrand's evil, what he done.
We might get flashbacks or something next season.
We might get flashbacks in season 2.
But, yeah. Do we get any flashbacks this season? Other than Galadriel having a couple of sort of premonitions or whatever.
You don't get. To be fair, part of me likes it because they don't overuse them. But as you say, I don't think you get any apart from
No.
Galadriel. I don't think you get any at all.
No, so I think it's quite good that they're not overusing flashbacks, because sometimes when they use too many flashbacks, it's like, well, why don't you just show me like a series of story that was these flashbacks, so then I can flash back my own mind rather than you having to flashback for me. You know what I mean? Yeah, because if you're using too many flashbacks, I mean, yeah, no, I was going to say something that has no relevance. I was going to talk about Arrow and using flashbacks, but anyway.
But no, no, I know what you mean, but the beauty of Arrow is when it's using flashbacks, which are relevant to the current story.
Yeah, because the flashbacks aren't just flashbacks; they're actually stories as well.
To complement the current story it's trying to tell.
Yeah, it's 50-50 with Arrow flashbacks and current day, whereas most things do flashbacks that are more like 30-70.
Yeah, but now because the action was so good when you saw it, you just wanted more. So that Halbrand fight, one scene, the troll at the beginning of the first.
When the lad's been kidnapped, the elf's been kidnapped, and he's having to work for the Aurochs, and then he breaks free and he manages to get those two guys free, and one guy gets his neck slit and the other one gets arrows in his chest as he climbs out. That was a cool action sequence.
That was a cool. Again, it was a great action sequence, but there just wasn't enough of it. I feel like the only reason they put Galadriel killing a troll in the first episode was because it's the first episode to get people into, this is Lord of the Rings with trolls in it, and it was a nice way to introduce like how bad as Galadriel can be. But that was it really. But again, I don't know. I don't know if it's because it's a bit immature of me and hopeful that every season finale should have a good action set piece, but there wasn't, was there?
No, but it was more about the reveal of Sauron.
It was more about the reveals, and it was more about like setting things up.
Because I reckon next season, I don't think Sauron will become Sauron. I reckon he'll still be Halbrand, trying to lay low and build himself up in the shadows as such. I don't think we're going to see him in, complete black armor. He'll still be Halbrand, and he'll still go by that alias to get around and to trick people more and more. But now we'll be on the side of understanding he's tricking everyone. So we've seen how Sauron comes to be, and we might actually, I don't know, sympathise with Sauron.
See, I already have. Like, this is what I'm saying. Like when up until when he says, "What's the difference between ruling people and saving them?" He's, even that, like, is debatable. But like, even until then, he's like, he's not that much of a bad guy, honestly. Yeah. It's like everything you've seen of him is.
This guy's always got the moral high ground.
This guy's always had the moral. Exactly. Until he said he was Sauron, he was a cool guy. And even then, Sauron seems like a cool guy to me. Yeah. But I did look at like the accent. And I was like, I feel like I recognise him as something else. I didn't recognise him. I looked at it because I looked at his IMDb. He's had like 5 or 6 projects. And imagine that being like his 6th project, and
you get to be Sauron, which is like, probably he's up there with Darth Vader as being the most notable villains.
He's up there with Darth Vader as being one of the biggest villains in pop culture. So like, credit to the guy, and I wouldn't say he steals shit because like there's other great characters in it, but yeah, fucking too right. I honestly think he's my favourite character. Yeah, the quote unquote bad guy is my favourite character, and I think that's a credit to the twist.
He's not my favourite, but he is a really good character. Like when he's on screen, I know I'm gonna enjoy this scene.
Prince Durin's great. Prince Durin's wife Nissa's great. Galadriel plays her role really greatly, but like I don't know, there's something about her naivety. I don't know, which doesn't sit well with me. But I also see why they've done that.
But you've also got to remember she's an elf, and like that's how they are. So you kind of think, that doesn't seem very human. But then you're like, wait, she's not.
Yeah, I feel like as Prince Durin touches in it, which is quite a cool point to make, is they're quite elitist because they are like, I know it sounds bad, but they are elite, and it's like Prince Durin says, you haven't visited me for 20 years. That's like a blink of an eye for Elrond, isn't it?
Yeah, that was a great scene. That was.
Yeah, it is a great scene about their friendship. But as you say, they see life differently because of that.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of different things, but like, you know, they touch on it. You know, elves have different eyes. Like they are heightened, like they are just heightened humans. Like,
yeah,
they live longer, they're immortal and stuff like that. But no, that's thoughts on the Rings of Power.
I say I'm really looking forward to the next season, to be honest. But the odds are we're not going to get that for another year and a half.
Yeah, I 100% agree. Like, apparently they're about to start filming it soon. When the lady who played Galadriel was like doing an interview I was listening to, they're filming it in Britain, which is quite interesting. A lot of it is, and it just makes me feel like that's really cool in itself. But as you say, if they're only just filming it, it's going to be a while yet. It's going to be a long while yet.
But I say that's our 2 pennies worth. Let us know if you agree with their opinions. You know, did you enjoy the show as much as we enjoyed it?
For what it's worth, I know a lot of hardcore Tolkien fans have disliked it because of like the way it's messed around with the lore and whatever. But I liked it because it was very noob friendly.
So they need to take creative liberties, because otherwise you might as well just read the book. Because if it's exactly the same, you can predict everything that's happening. You know, that you need changes every now and again just so you can enjoy, you know, coming across something. Oh, that's a new way to take this avenue or whatever. So you're still sort of enjoying something new. You don't always want it to be exactly the same.
Yeah, exactly.
Otherwise, you're like, well, I've already seen this, already know how this goes, and what's the point in watching it then? But yeah, let's say that's it from us, I guess.
A very quick moment of the week, and it's nice to have, like, you know, dare I say, I know me and Kieran agree, but it's nice to have a shorter episode, and I full well say that, and no one's noticed clocking over an hour. But a quick suggestion, and he's great, he's a journalist, like, it's, in his own right, he was great, but I watched the Louis Theroux interview with Stormzy, and if you're remotely into Stormzy and you want to know like what type of bloke he is or whatever, and what motivates him, and you know what his process is, just watch that, because he comes across really well. But also, like, you can make your own decision on that. In typical Louis Theroux fashion, he like disarms the person he's interviewing in like quite like, you know, an intimate way, but also like it's not weird. Like, you know what I mean? He doesn't do weird stuff with him or whatever. But no, I'd recommend that. Yeah. And also, like, a sneak peek for upcoming, whether it's next week's episode or the episode after, me and Kieran are currently playing through Gotham Knights.
I was just about to say, my moment of the week will be playing Gotham Knights, because it's not, basically, in a nutshell, it's not as bad as all the reviews. I think there was one bad review that came out, and then everyone jumped on the bandwagon of like, is the game really as bad as it seems? And then people are just shitting on it for the sake of shitting on it. I've actually really enjoyed it. You know, don't think of it as being exactly like the Arkham series. It's a completely different game. But yeah, as it stands, I'm enjoying it. I would like there to be more content, more villains. But it's still a fun game, especially for co-op as well. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, it is a fun game, and if you're remotely into the Batman lore or the comic lore, it is good.
Yeah, I've enjoyed the cutscenes. I've enjoyed the voice acting,
the characters, and the voice acting, and even the writing to a degree. Like, but yeah, we'll be going into that deeper soon. Yeah. But no, thank you for listening as always. Please, share it on your socials as much as you can. Comment and give us a review as well. Like, we'd like appreciate feedback, and if you want to give us a 5-star review, that's even better. Thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you as always for listening.
Yeah, and we'll catch you in the next episode.
Have a good time.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.